Welcome back to another meticulously organized, mildly exhausting but undeniably fascinating journey through the labyrinth of European bureaucracy. I am Professor Tuxie. In our previous session, I promised to explain a modern miracle of administrative engineering, the Schengen Area. We will explore how border checks vanished between participating countries, how the system actually functions, and why, occasionally, the entire concept seems to temporarily spontaneously combust. To understand this borderless utopia, we must rewind to June 14, 1985. The setting was not a grand palace in Brussels or Paris, but a rather unassuming boat, named the Princesse Marie Astrid. This vessel was moored on the River Moselle, near a tiny sleepy village in Luxembourg called Schengen. At this precise spot, the borders of Luxembourg, Germany, and France intersect. Representatives from 5 countries, Belgium, France, West Germany, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, gathered to sign an agreement to gradually abolish checks at their common borders. Naturally, this being Europe, it took another 10 years of endless committee meetings, technical delays, and agonizing bureaucratic wrangling before the Schengen Area actually became operational in 1995. Today, the Schengen Area encompasses 29 European countries. It is a zone where over 400 million citizens can travel, work, and live without ever showing a passport at internal borders. The physical infrastructure of border control, the toll booths, the boom barriers, the stern-looking guards asking for your papers, has largely been dismantled, left to rust, or converted into rather overpriced cafes. But do not mistake the absence of internal borders for a lack of security. The foundational trade-off of Schengen is simple. If we remove the doors inside the house, we must heavily fortify the exterior walls. This is the concept of the common external border. Every country bordering a non-Schengen state applies exactly the same stringent criteria for entry. A visa issued by Italy is valid for travel to Sweden. An entry stamp from Poland allows you to roam all the way to Portugal. To make this trust possible, they created the Schengen Information System, or SIS. This is a mammoth, continent-wide database. If a vehicle is stolen in Spain or a suspect is wanted in Austria, it is logged into the SIS. A police officer on a routine traffic stop in Finland can access this information in real time. It is highly efficient, deeply complex, and a privacy lawyer's absolute worst nightmare. Now, you might assume that the European Union and the Schengen Area are identical. If you do, you clearly have not been paying attention to my lectures. They are entirely different legal entities that happen to violently overlap. First, we have EU members who are not in Schengen. Ireland, for instance, negotiated an opt-out to maintain its own common travel area with the United Kingdom. Cyprus is legally obliged to join, but cannot due to its complex territorial division. Conversely, we have non-EU countries that are in the Schengen area. Switzerland, Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein. They pay into the system. They follow the rules, but they have no say in the broader European Union Parliament. And then we have the recent dramas. Bulgaria and Romania waited over a decade to join. In 2024, they were finally permitted to join, but only partially, by air and sea. Land borders remained restricted due to political vetoes from other member states, citing migration concerns. It is a perfect example of European compromise, theoretically elegant, practically infuriating, and demanding immense amounts of paperwork. However, the Schengen Agreement includes a vital escape hatch. Article 25 of the Schengen Borders Code allows member states to temporarily reinstate internal border controls. This is only supposed to happen in the event of a serious threat to public policy or internal security. The catch? The definition of a serious threat is entirely up to the panicking nation in question. What constitutes a serious threat? A global pandemic, certainly. A sudden surge in irregular migration, yes. A major international football tournament? Surprisingly also yes. Countries frequently notify the European Commission that they are slapping guards back on the borders for a few months. These temporary measures have an annoying habit of being extended, renewed, and prolonged until temporary begins to look suspiciously like permanent. When this happens, the economic cost is staggering. Supply chains are disrupted, cross-border commuters are delayed, and the psychological impact of seeing armed guards where there once was open road damages the very spirit of the European project. Yet the European Union tolerates this friction. Why? Because the alternative, forcing a sovereign state to keep its borders open during a perceived crisis, would cause a political explosion that could tear the entire Union apart. In the end, the Schengen Area is not just a treaty. It is an extraordinary daily exercise in mutual trust. It is millions of people crossing borders to buy cheaper groceries, go to work, or simply have dinner in another country without a second thought. It is flawed, it is complex, and it is heavily bureaucratic. But it remains one of the most astonishing achievements of the modern era. Speaking of astonishing bureaucratic achievements, it is time to wrap up today's lecture. Thank you for attending. Join me next time as we dive into the Eurozone. We will examine why some countries enthusiastically use the euro, why some pretend they eventually will, and why a few stubbornly, legally refuse to touch it at all. Class dismissed.